Hey, hockey fans. As promised, we are here with Elliot Gerard. He is the founder and head of creative and strategy at Heartland Group. Now, you probably have heard of Heartland Group as they are the agency of record for the Premier Hockey Federation. And Elliot is here to join us to talk about the jerseys that we will see in Toronto. But this episode of the Founding Four podcast is brought to you by MyGray. MyGray, of course, brings you all kinds of jerseys from mental health awareness, Pride Night, and of course the All-Star Weekend. And it's all from their auctions where you are getting game-worn jerseys authenticated by MyGray. So make sure you head over to mygrayauctions.com. That's MEIGRAY auctions.com. More on that, but Elliot, we have you here. Welcome to the Founding Four podcast.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, we've spoken before about a few different activations, and of course with the Premier Hockey Federation All-Star Weekend, we wanted to talk about the jerseys. Now, fans have been able to see the logo, and so why don't we start there? This is the first time that the Premier Hockey Federation is having their All-Star Showcase in Canada. It's going to be in Toronto. How did you incorporate some elements that were unique to Toronto in the original logo design?
Well, last year we did the logo, and that was supposed to be the first year in Toronto, but we had remake it and make it a Buffalo logo after that. So we've kind of already did that exercise, but but we actually made it very unique this year. When you look at my logos in general, or you look at my art a lot, I like to have a lot of Easter eggs. I like to have a lot of different meanings. So if you look at this logo, there's a whole story behind it, and I could go on for a while about it, but I'll talk about the details. What's really cool about this year's is the Maple Gardens, the iconic stadium that they're going to be doing the All-Star game in. We have that integrated within the logo itself, and in addition to having other elements that represent the Toronto flag and the Canadian flag, but also representing the league in general, and a lot of it's showing the energy of what these women bring to the ice, on and off the ice, and the logo is sort of a North Star mixed with a maple leaf and the crown as well, but it's also like ice being shattered, and then all on top of the arena, the Maple Gardens arena. So it's really unique to this year's special event in Toronto, and because it's a really special obviously opportunity for the PHF to showcase their talents in Toronto as the All-Star game, in Canada. And, we were honored also to be able to be a part of the launching of the Montreal Force, which is obviously, this is really important for the league to get into Canada. Toronto 6 came first, and then the Montreal Force came second. So, we know that this logo is very important because of, what it symbolizes for the league. And so that's why, we put so much effort into it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And, we'll show this for viewers, and for listeners, I'll talk through it. But you see the CN Tower, which of course is very prominent and well-known as part of Toronto and the Six. But then you mentioned, Maple Leaf Gardens and the Mattamy Athletic Center, where the All-Star Showcase will take place and the All-Stars will hit the ice. I love how you have the maple leaf with, the PHF logo prominently centered, and then kind of use a swooping motion at the edge of that maple leaf on the bottom to also create the dome as the callback to the building. That's really cool.
Well, last year we had that was a puck coming out, so it was like a puck shattering, but like it was just the Maple Gardens being such a historical thing. I was like, this, and it fit perfectly. Like, it's the same kind of shape, almost like a puck. So and I ttotally forgot about the CN Tower. So yes, that's there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Which last year we had to change into the I think it was called the electric not the electric tower, but the tower in Buffalo. So we went from CN to that, and now we're back at CN, which is awesome.
I love it. Well, being nimble, right? That's what the game is all about. And so obviously that was moved just with some restrictions still that we had given COVID coming on the back end of that. But now the province is opened up, Ontario. And again, not only the All-Stars and of course staff and prominent people in hockey, but the Founding Four pod will be there. And again, we are doing some of our content, all of our content actually, in partnership with Migrate. And so we want to make sure, as a part of our service to All-Star, that fans know exactly what they're bidding on. Not only are they going to go for their favorite player, but what are they going to get, Elliot, when it comes to these uniforms? So this is going to be the second All-Star Showcase where instead of 2 teams going head-to-head, there will be 3 teams. So you had the opportunity to utilize this logo and design and then make it unique for Team USA, Team World, and then of course the hosts, Team Canada. What can you tell us about the jerseys, the colors, and how you came about making and integrating the logo while also being able to have the athletes who are going to wear these have pride in the team that they're going to represent, which is very connected to their home countries?
Absolutely. So we created 3 different versions, like you said, that had elements of the logo and the color schemes from the logo, but were very unique to, whether it was US, we made that one. We chose to do that one blue because Canada, we made that red.
Obviously.
And actually, the colors of the Force Maroon and the Toronto 6 are in the jersey, actually in the logo as well. So those,
wow, yeah,
they're not the exact Pantone, but they're very close. And so that's something cool. If you're a Force fan or a Toronto fan, you should definitely get these because it's representing your teams. And then the energy behind it feels very much like the logo itself. But I did use symbols that on the Toronto one it was Leafs. On the US one there were stars, and then on the World one I made actually like the North Star, which is within the logo. I made that as a element to kind of represent the whole world, the whole map. And on each of these there's also like a stylized map of the US and also Canada, so like all North America, on both the Canadian one and the US one. And then on the World one it kind of has like Europe and other countries like all across as well, so in this stylized version. So we really mix it in, and in an abstract way. I would say it's somewhat subtle, but like also kind of in your face at the same time, which is cool. So and then with the World it was white and gold. The gold actually represents not just these all-stars, but also the gold is kind of representing of the Maple Leaf Gardens because of that brick that they have.
Okay.
So that gold was brought into the logo, but also into the uniforms with that in mind. And if you look on the jersey as well, there's this on the bottom you'll see these, and also on the sleeves you'll see these like
top,
bricks, that brick shapes. They're actually shaped sort of based off the 6 logo as well. If you look at the 6 logo, it has that same slant, but they're made into bricks because kind of like it's funny that it's a founding for it, but it's about like building a new foundation. Is what this is a part of this All-Star building that new foundation because it's in Canada. It's so I wanted to make sure that was integrated as well. Not just in the logo, but in the uniform. So that's a part of it is also, and it makes it a cool design that's kind of unique.
Yeah, these are really sick. So I'm looking at the rendering that will be the roster cards. And so you've
Yeah,
got all three logos there. And as you mentioned, the gold, you can see the brick element and the color that's used in the brick logo very prominently on the Team World uniform, but that same pattern of the brick is throughout. And so you
yeah,
have those on all of the jerseys. And then as you mentioned, the star for the United States, the maple leaf for Canada, and then the North Star for Team World, those are also on the sleeve. Those are elements that we see on the sleeve. These are really sick. I'm gonna have to make sure I go to mygrayauctions.com, put my name in there to get a game worn one, because these are pretty sick.
thank you. I
Yeah,
really,
they're really clean. They're super clean. I mean, we've seen, I think last year was really fun. And really,
yeah,
since Heartland Group came on board, we've seen the league lean into color a lot
uh-huh.
with the designs, not just for, as we mentioned, we're talking about All-Star as we get ready for Toronto, but we've seen even the color and, as you said, kind of the manipulation of a backdrop, in this case, the map. But I mean, the Connecticut Whale jerseys, and we've really seen a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
that.
yeah, that was every time.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, yeah,
Elliot, I want to step aside from this particular design just for a minute, but I have worked with Heartland, or I should say, I've reported on work from Heartland Group outside of the Premier Hockey Federation, and there is a specific design. And I would love to hear how you categorize it, because I see it as a kind of in your face, color pop intense. And there are all these, though, if you take a look at the design, there's layers within the
yeah,
design that almost give it this 3D element. So how would you describe the style and what Heartland Group is all about?
yeah. You described it really well. I at my name for it, that specific kind of design that you're talking about is called organized chaos. If you look behind me and you see this stuff, that's kind of like one of our big campaigns early on. Was this campaign we did with Rock the Vote and a bunch of PAs, the NBPA, the
Yeah, the
WNBPA.
WMBPA. I see those. I recognize those.
Yeah, NFLPA got involved, and the retired Legends of Basketball as well, which is the retired basketball PA. And what made these unique was that idea, this organized chaos that tells a story. So it's with when we're working on stuff, we a graphic, unless it's very simple, like I always want to try to tell a story with any visual that I create, and we Heartland in general, because when people look through the feeds now, like if you just see a plain graphic that doesn't tell you anything, you're gonna swipe by it, so that's just thinking from a digital standpoint. But like on jerseys, I think beautiful jerseys that are very simple are great. But like when I create jerseys, even if it's a simple, like we did with My Gray, we created all the jerseys for the Force, and they're very retro and simple. However, there's a lot to that. So one, there's like this little pattern with fleur-de-lis across the thing that you can hardly see, but they're in there. And then two, everything from the colors being reminiscent of the Montreal Maroons. The actual uniforms are retro versions of the real uniforms that they created for the Montreal Maroons. So we kind of took those and we reinterpreted them and made them a little more modern, but like it had that simple kind of retro look. So whenever we create anything, and then if you want to talk about like the Connecticut Whale stuff, like what we did for the pennies, where we created
Yes,
recently
those
the
are
jersey.
so dope.
So we recreated the logo of the whale and made it integrated with the pennies and made it really very much like the actual Pittsburgh Pennies original jerseys. So, and those, I would say, somewhat simple, but like again, tells a story. There's levels behind it, because I want people to, when they see anything, I want them to be like, wait, what does that mean? Like stop for a second and be like, is there something more to that? Or even subconsciously think that, because that's more invested, and probably more of a reason why you'd want to get a jersey, because it tells you something.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, again, we've really seen the creativity, your creativity come through. And, you can even hear some of the inspiration. You talked about the all-star jerseys that we'll see on the ice this weekend. You talked about the Pittsburgh pennies and whatnot. But as you mentioned, and as we can see behind you, you work with a lot of different individuals, different leagues. I mean, anyone who's ever watched a PHF game, excuse me, we've seen the commercial, which again is kind of that like intense, organized chaos. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, I want to scale this back. Usually when I have a guest on any of my podcasts, I like to ask them, when did they fall in love with their expertise? And so this concept of art and creative design, Elliot, where did that passion and when did you really commit yourself and fall in love with the work that you do?
I went to Pratt, and I was following my footsteps of my mom, who's an architect. What? Like I always love to draw, but like something that comes to mind when I look at like this stuff that I've done. My mom, whenever she was like on a client call or whatever, she would do these very like crazy sketches, but they were just patterns. Like she would write a note and then there would be all these circles around it and stuff like that. And it was based off of her architectural drawings, but they were like crazy, it wasn't. It was just sort of like she was doing circles and lines and stuff like that. But I knew in her mind she was thinking about she was thinking about the architectural drawings that she was doing. So when she was on, but it was sort of free flowing architecture kind of vomited on the page in a way. And so I think that, it's something that always comes to mind, and I don't do it as much, but I used to a lot, not just, I obviously am big into drawing and all sorts of, painting, whatever, any kind of artwork like that, mostly digital for the most part now, but in the past I've done a lot of hand drawing and hand painting. But that idea of just letting your mind go and seeing where it takes you, that's exciting to me, and it gives you makes any project kind of have a life of its own. So yeah, I would say that.
Wow. No, I love that story. I think that's fantastic. I can think of it was my dad for me, but he used to just doodle a little bit on his notes, or
Yeah.
he was more into like prominently just kind of emboldening or making his letters look a little bit kind of, just fun and funky. So I
Yeah.
love that story. I appreciate you sharing that. And I guess
Thank
it
you.
goes back to, right, that organized chaos that has
Yeah.
become now your style.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Elliot, we are so glad to have you on the Founding Four podcast. And again, our all-star showcase content is promoted and presented by MyGray, who, of course, will be auctioning off these jerseys. These will be game-worn jerseys that fans can get a little piece of that organized chaos as a part of their collection. But maybe for fans who don't win out on the bid, because we know all the fans are gonna go to mygrayauctions.com. That's a given. But if for any fan that's not lucky enough to get one of the game worn ones, is there another way that fans will be able to celebrate All-Star Weekend and maybe get a replica jersey of their own?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be on sale. I know that the league has told me that they will be. So they will be available on the PHF shop. And I don't know how MyGray does it, but I'm sure they'll be able to buy them there too, potentially.
That's fantastic. Yeah, well, we look forward to everyone sporting all your designs. And then before I let you go, though, we've talked about a few of the designs, and we know that MyGray also holds the auction for the designs that are created for specific nights to promote, as we mentioned earlier, mental health awareness or Pride Night. Are there any jerseys that we should be on the lookout for some of these more socially conscious nights that you think fans are really going to want to get their hands on?
There's two really cool force ones. That one I think is not going to be until next season, but there's one that I can't go into the details, but yes, there will be a very cool force one, and I worked with another artist to create it, and it's exciting one, and it's definitely something that I think Canadians will be very appreciative of, and so that's one I'm proud of doing. But yeah, I mean, there's the Dark Seas ones that we did together for Connecticut Whale, as you've talked about. That one, although I don't know, I like that. That one, I don't know if it's specific for it's specific for a cause, but it's a very
third
cool
jersey.
One.
Yeah,
it's a very cool one because it talks about Connecticut pride. A lot of the elements that are kind of like this in a way are representative of Connecticut. So if you're big into Connecticut, the Dark Seas jersey is the one you should get.
Those are dope. They revealed those, I guess, for their first official home game. So that was pretty dope. That was really dope. They did that pretty well, and that was also the night they celebrated Kennedy Marchman, who will be wearing one of these in red, representing Canada. So we'll see how that goes. But her teammate Karenina Mrazova will actually be the captain of Team World, representing not only the Connecticut Whale, but of course Team Czechia as well. She's one of several Olympians that will be hitting the ice. So you've got plenty of choices for like solid auction eyes to keep the auction eyes on these jerseys. But Elliot, thank you so much for your time, and it sounds like we're gonna have to have you back, because
we love to be back.
We gotta get the Canadian fans in those Force jerseys. You teased us a little bit, so now we're gonna have to have you back. But Elliot Gerard, again, is the founder of Heartland Group as well as head of creative and strategy. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Founding Four podcast, presented by My Gray.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I really I appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. Sounds great. We'll see you around the rink.
Yeah. See you at All-Star.